And the problem is for some men, all they have is their notion of masculinity to the point that they cannot let it go and they can't see anything else other than that. When the actuality is, again, gender isn't real. We're just plants with complicated emotions. When I look at people, I just see human-shaped flowers.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say that a lot of these men's rights activists, they're struggling. Like you said, they have high suicide or high self-deletion, whatever we're supposed to say, rates.
I don't know what the word is.
And the way they're coping with it,
themselves.
yeah, and the way that they're coping with it is by saying, okay, we're having this issue, so we need to put women back.
Exactly,
and,
it's not
and
fair.
be this, yeah, we need to take away their rights. We need this society to be the way it was, where like all the rights that were afforded to people, it was men. Men were the first people to get rights, and then other people have to, especially white men, and then everyone else has to catch up to them, and because they're struggling, they go, oh, let's turn the clock back. Number one, that's impossible. You're not going to turn the clock back. And number two, I don't think that's actually going to help the issue.
It's not going to help the issue. It'll hinder it.
On the suicide thing, I do think it's important to have a little bit of nuance that women actually attempt suicide far more often. The reason why men are more successful as it is because they're more likely to own a firearm and use it.
Yes.
But in terms of like men fighting for rights, I think that like movements that attempt to fight for rights for particular groups, that sort of description should be exclusive to genuine social justice movements. You know, there may be disparities in ways in which the patriarchy does disadvantage men, but I think that you can't co-opt the language of it being a social justice, a rights-based.
No, that's the problem is that like I have this thing I say. I feel like saying that like men have feelings is kind of like saying all lives matter, because men only ever bring up their problems directly after women bring up theirs. So it just sounds dismissive. And that's the problem, is that for a lot of men, I think we feel so uncared for by society. We feel so like just like we don't really matter unless we prove our worth, that anytime any social movement gets any sort of traction, we just immediately just bum rush that.
And it really. You think that's true, Trev? Do you think that men feel like the world doesn't care about them? We have to prove ourselves.
Partially, and I think Mistaken pretty much hit the nail on the head as far as you know, it's not rights per se, but there are absolutely inequalities. But there have always been inequalities since the beginning of time. There's always been double standards since the beginning of time. I think that the bigger issue is home, right? Because these issues exist, but many of us are impervious to it, right? I don't think Marcus, I don't think Darwin's worried about that. I don't think they want to delete themselves at any point, right? I don't think they're feeling like that. They have the same circumstances as far as being a man and everything else, but they probably had positive role models in their lives that would show them how to handle situations. They would show them how to work under pressure and to deal with controversy, right, or conflict or whatever type of adversity comes their way. And I think that the lack of positive male figures in our lives is a lot more responsible for the issues that men are having, not understanding how to cope, not understanding how to express themselves and deal with their actual feelings and their emotions, and learn how to manage them. That's the much deeper problem. Sure, there are some systematic issues that we face on a daily basis, right? And we could even take it a step further and say black man, because we have unique issues that not every man has to deal with, right? But we had to deal with that. We have to understand that if I'm driving through Bergen County, New Jersey, that I'm probably going to get pulled over just straight up because I'm a black man and I am seen as the boogeyman. And that's just what it is sometimes, right? And you just have to understand that the world doesn't care. The world may never care, but you're still going to have to deal with life. You're still going to have to be a man. You're still going to have to raise your children. You're still going to have to be a responsible adult. You're still going to have to work hard. But that type of foundation comes from the family in the first place. We could sit here all day and complain about how the world isn't fair, but life is never fair, not really to anyone. We could try to pinpoint all of our issues that we're faced with, but where is it really going to get us? I don't think we can get to a point right now from where we are, where people are just going to all of a sudden care about men's emotions. Like women typically don't really care about our emotions, or maybe I have to be careful how I put it, because maybe they can't empathize with us, right? They see us as a stronger vessel and they expect us to be able to grunt through it. That it's expected of us as a man. And as men, we have to just understand that that's what it is. So the most we can do is support each other. So that's why, like a situation like King Talk or something like that would be great, because other men can discuss these issues. There's certain things that I don't feel like women are going to understand. And it's not because they don't care to, it's because they're not men, right? So they are not going to be able, they can sometimes sympathize with you. And even that's a stretch. But as far as empathizing, it's nearly impossible, because you don't, it's not something that you're ever going to be able to go through and actually feel. And we have to understand that. And you can try your best. And I always talk about how important perspective is, but it's hard for them to see it as we see it. And I think that's the deepest issue. I'll leave it there for now.
Privileges that men have.
So yeah, I don't think nobody's rights is being under attack. I think it's just rights are being reevaluated based on who's in position of power, and the rights that's in questions is under discretion of the person in power, their moral compass, and what they believe is suitable for how the nation should operate. I think it's always been like that. I think the nation was set like that to reserve the right to be able to adjust rights, make changes based on who's in office and who see fit. And I think there's a good argument that if it were not for that reservation, we probably would be 3/5 of a human being in a particular era in time if we wasn't allowed to reevaluate rights. So as far as saying that somebody's rights is under attack, I think it's an extreme phrase. I think it's more suitable to use that rights are under evaluation based on who comes into office, and I yield.